Okay, so we will vote on these one by one. Right now, is there a motion to approve policy 2127?
So moved.
Excuse me, Madam Chair.
Yes,
I just wanted to go over again, since we're doing the parliamentary procedures, that in taking a vote, there's not an introduction of the items. It's just someone makes a motion, someone seconds, and then there's discussion. And generally, this board votes for the policies in a group unless someone, and then if someone wants one pulled, what they do each meeting is they pull them.
I do have my hand raised.
So hold on, I do, Linda. Hold on, let me get the motion in a second before we do that. So I know Betty was seconded. Who made the motion? Kim, and then Betty. Okay, Linda. And then Anita.
I want to discuss or do I need to ask to pull a policy, or do you want to go ahead and discuss the policy? Which way are we going?
Well, we would normally have those pulled before the meeting if there was an issue with those, but we can go ahead and discuss it now since we have a motion and a second on the floor.
Okay, I want to discuss policy 2127.
Yeah, that's the one we're voting on.
And I would like to go down to section 3C. Yes, 3C of that policy. Let's see. Let me get to the actual policy. No, I'm in the calendar. Anyway, in 3C.
Wait, point of order. Are we going to pull them or are we going to discuss them one by one? I'm confused now. I just want to.
We're having discussion now. It wasn't requested it be pulled before the meeting. So we're having discussion now about it.
On any of them, or are we going to vote separately?
Separately.
Okay.
Okay. I had looked at that policy, and if you go down to section 3C of the policy, there's a general paragraph that basically says that Guilford County controls all their multimedia. All right. And that basically they do not have to address people making any real comments, or it sounds to me like they can delete, they can control who can comment on that because they control that media. However, if you go down to C3 little c, okay, it says the board has to, if they're doing a social media platform, that the First Amendment is there, that the First Amendment applies to them. So if you start a forum, supposedly, then you cannot, if you make comments, I guess, and then someone puts comments in there that you don't like, you cannot remove it. So I asked the board lawyer, what's the difference between Guilford County and individual board members having to adhere to the First Amendment? The board attorney said it's a fine line about a forum. So I need a definition on what a forum constitutes and where it crosses the line for the Guilford County District and where it crosses the line for the Board of Education, because I don't understand that.
Jill, do you want to weigh in on that?
Did I say that correctly, or was I clear in my comment?
I'm asking.
Well, it's a subject we could talk about for about 4 hours, but just trying to simplify the forum issue. Anytime a unit of government, which would be the Board of Education is a unit of government, individual schools are units of government. Anytime a unit of government creates a forum where viewpoints can be expressed, then there are very limited circumstances in which viewpoints can be edited. So it depends on the type of forum you create in the kind of media you have about when you can and can't remove things posted in a public forum.
Okay, well,
I don't know if that answers it in any way so for example, if you can't edit for subject. In other words, you can't without following the rules of that have been established in case law. So you can't say we are only going to take viewpoints that support X and we're going to eliminate viewpoints that are derogatory to X. That would be viewpoint discrimination in a place where you've created an open forum. You've invited response from the public. That's one thing. You can, on the other hand, edit illegal comments, pornography. There are certain exceptions to those rules that apply. So, and you can create a closed or a limited open forum depending on the kind of comment you invite. So if it's only a site where school work is discussed for school purposes, you can limit the topic. I mean, it just depends on what kind of forum you have. So, it's hard to address this as a uniform answer because it just depends on what the source invites and then how it limits. It can place limits, but the limits have to be reasonably related to the forum you create.
Okay, so I'm going to use an example of the calendar.
Okay.
All right. Guilford County Schools is going to put that calendar out on their Facebook page.
Right.
I could put that out on my Facebook page.
Right.
Now, there's going to be people that agree and disagree with what we just did.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Now, so if you've got someone that posts great, does the other person have a right on either social media, whether it be Guilford County or mine, to say, no, I don't agree?
Yes.
And that can on either the Guilford County or mine.
Yes. If the purpose of your forum is to solicit comments on that, you cannot edit and you open it to the public. You cannot edit you cannot keep out people who don't support you. If that's
my intent may not be to solicit, but if you post it, there's going to be discussion.
Well, if your board is open to discussion, you've opened the forum.
Okay. All right. So I just want to make sure that, I understand because it's based on this forum. So if I post the calendar on my Facebook page and someone's very angry about the calendar and they post and they say something angry on my Facebook, I cannot remove it.
If it's about public business, if you're doing public business through that method and you've invited comment, correct.
Well, you don't, by posting it, you're inviting comment.
Well, that's your answer.
All right. So if GCS posts something on their website, and let's take the calendar. It's a good example. There's going to be people happy that what we vote on, and there's going to be people that are not happy.
Right.
At that point, because we placed it on the account on Facebook, it becomes, if people choose to comment on it, then they have the right to comment. And if there's good ones, then that's great. And if there's bad ones, then that's the counter. And
within boundaries, obviously, you can't be obscene. You can't.
Well, I'm not talking about obscene. I mean, I agree. If they got foul language or they're horrible about, there are a point of, you're way.
Yeah, I don't want to leave it out there that you can say anything about anything.
Well, I don't, and I've said,
but yes, correct.
To use the calendar is a good example of positive and negative. It's not a hot spot. Well, it may be a hot spot for some people, or a hotter spot than I realize. But that's my question, because I don't understand how the First Amendment applies to me, but it doesn't apply. Because when I read that first paragraph under 3C, it sounds to me that we're saying the First Amendment does not apply because Guilford County controls all their social media. And that's the way I read it.
I guess I would read that to mean is that they could decide not to have comment, for example. They could post information and not have comment. That's how they can control it. But they choose how to put their information out there.
However, if you post something simply by, all right, I'm going to go post on the webpage, on my webpage, the calendar. Now, at that point, do I need to put a thing, something on there? This is not open to discussion. Is that what I got to do? Because anybody.
You're talking about your personal Facebook?
Sure. Or I'm talking about GCS.
I wouldn't do the school's business on my personal Facebook. So that's the purpose of a personal Facebook isn't to solicit.
I'm not soliciting.
Okay,
I'm
so
just providing information.
Well, so it just depends on how you use that media and what the purpose of it is and what you do with it. If you open it to a public forum, if you conduct public business in there, then you're going to change the nature of what you can limit.
Okay, so GCS does public business on there by simply notifying parents of information, like they'll put out this calendar. That is doing public business.
Right.
And therefore, people are allowed to comment on it.
Right. I assuming they allow comment. Yes.
So there's some stuff, Linda, I think you can just put out there for information and people can't comment on it. It's just.
Yeah, I doing this in a vacuum is very difficult because I don't really.
My question then becomes, how do you stop them on Facebook from commenting?
You can't. But you can on a website.
I'm not aware of how. I don't know how.
I got you on website,
Right.
I got you on the website, but
yeah.
We also have a Facebook page. I don't do a website. And when I'm reading this, and I read 3C closely, that for me, that first paragraph says Twitter, Facebook, and all those kinds of social media that GCS has, which they control. Somehow I read that they're not, they can delete things or whatever because somehow that First Amendment does not apply to that. However, if I go out there as a board member and do Twitter, Facebook, or anything else, the First Amendment applies to me. So have a conflict.
It would apply the same to everybody who creates a public forum for the purpose of discussing or allows discussion. There would be no difference in how it applies if you're discussing the business of the board.
Okay.
That's the best way I can answer it. So the First Amendment and the way and the type of media it is more content sensitive than type of media sensitive. So It doesn't matter if it's Facebook or your mailbox or anything else. You have the forum you have, and the rules apply based on that. And so if you're conducting public business in a forum and you're welcoming comment, you can't edit the comment because you don't like it.
Well, I don't do that anyway. I mean, if I put it out there, they're welcome to comment on it. However, because they're going to comment whether I want them to or not. So that is the way it is. And on GCS Facebook, they do the same thing. And whether it's on a school Facebook, Twitter, and those kind of media, by the type of media they are, invite comment, period. And so that's my point. And there again, I also want to go back to email. I mean, I made it this situation last time about that. I think we should put a clause in there that only emails can be shared with a public request or by stated law. The reason I'm saying this is we have had incidents in the past where I believe that emails were shared inappropriately, and I think the board needs to be protected from it. That's the end of this conversation for me.
Thank you, Anita. Then Kim.
Okay, my first question concerns the statement that the superintendent made at the beginning of this discussion on parliamentary procedure. So are you saying if the policies are presented in a group and we want to discuss one, we have to be specific to the removal prior to the meeting? We've always, I mean, you're limiting our policy discussion by the conversation we had last time. We're not going to discuss them before they go out. And now, if we're going to discuss them when they come back, no matter what the public comment was, we have to request that they be pulled. Is that proper? I'm asking Dina as the board chair. Thank you.
I'm answering as the superintendent. So
I
what
didn't
I
ask
said,
you.
because you're asking,
I
Dina,
didn't ask you. I asked Dina, who leads our meetings. I think.
Mrs. Hayes, she asked me about my comment, so I want to clarify. My comment was specific to parliamentary procedure about making a motion. So I shared with you and Mrs. Hayes and with the board and with our attorney a Robert's Rules cheat sheet about you make a motion and then someone seconds before discussion. I then made a comment about how this board has done its policies. I don't care how you do it. In the past, including last meeting, the board generally votes on its motions as a group, and they pull the ones that they want to pull. That's not Robert's Rules. I was referring to Robert's Rules in terms of when you vote and how you vote. There's not an overview. You generally someone makes a motion, they second, and then there's discussion. Thank you.
So in the future, Chairman Hayes, I request that each policy be a separate agenda item.
Well, I mean, it all depends on how they come, Anita. I mean, I try to make room for everyone to be able to have conversation. But we also ask that if you have a concern about a policy and they've been out for a while, to let me know so that we can pull those. And then when people don't do that and then wait to the meeting, then I think it's very hard to have some kind of boundaries or processes here.
So I may not have
having some conversation about this is that we have something in place that says if you want to have discussion about it, let me know and we'll pull it. And so when we don't do that, then we get here and people want to have a discussion that we didn't follow the process for. And I really do try to let everyone be heard.
Can I speak? When you change the rules in the middle of the game, nobody understands them. We have always discussed the policies individually, and now we have to request to pull a policy to discuss it. Yes. It appears to me, and it appears to the public, that this board is trying the best they can to limit any discussion on policy. You don't want us to discuss it before it goes out, and now when it comes back, if you haven't made a request, you can't discuss it. When are we going to get the public comment on these policies? I haven't seen any. Anyway, that aside, I want someone to tell me when my email can be made available to the public under this policy. All I want to know is when. And I don't know who wants to answer that, and I don't care, but somebody needs to answer it.
When your emails are available to the public?
Yes.
I think when anyone makes a public records request, if someone wants your emails. Is that what you're asking about? I'm not sure if I understand the question.
Say that again. I didn't hear what you said.
When your emails, if someone makes a public records request, then they can get your emails, according to whatever the time is required to get that.
All right. And I guess this question is for Nora. When someone makes that request, are we notified?
Yes, typically we notify the board when somebody has made a request for their emails or their records.
Okay, let's keep going through this.
Same thing for staff. It's more of a courtesy. It's like not written down, but we try to.
Well, it needs to be written down or it ain't going to happen. So that needs to be in this policy somewhere. I don't care where. Just tell, it needs to be in writing so that everybody understands the rules.
Thank you, Nita. Do you have another question?
That's a request.
Well, we're going to be voting on these policies and.
I move we send this particular policy back to committee to address those concerns.
We already have a motion.
You go, Anita.
A
You can make a
substitute
second.
motion. A substitute motion.
Is there a second?
Yes.
All right. Let's see. Winston? I need a substitute motion to send it back.
No, I think it can be handled in procedure.
Thank you. Linda?
Yes.
Deborah?
I'm sorry, I want to clarify here. The substitute motion is made on the parliamentary procedure 2340, correct?
No. It's on
Okay.
policy 2127.
So we're still on the tech. Okay, thank you. Just wanted to double check it before.
Okay. How do you vote, Deborah?
On the substitute motion,
Yes.
no.
Thank you. Betty?
No.
Kim?
No.
Diane?
No.
Pat?
If I can clarify, are we sending it back to add that language, Anita? Is that what you?
That was the request,
Requesting.
but according to Ms. Hayes, that's going to be in the procedure which we don't see and have no control over.
Yep, I'll support the motion to.
I'm sorry, Pat.
I'll support the sending it back to policy just to add that language.
Okay, Pat. Anita?
Yes.
And Dina, no. That passes by a vote of fails by a vote of 6-3. Okay, Linda?
Move the motion.
And then Winston? And then Diane will move.
Do you want my vote? It's a no.
No, I got your vote. Your hand is still up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Already.
Winston?
Yeah, I just appreciate the fact that it's good for us to be mindful of the practices that can help us be most effective. So when we request a policy be pulled in advance, it gives staff or others an opportunity to reach out to a board member, find out if there's more information they can bring to a meeting that's helpful. I also appreciate that Dina tonight said we're still going to allow discussion or things to be pulled. So Dina, I just appreciate that flexibility, but I also appreciate the superintendent and others helping us move forward. I don't think we're trying to limit conversation. I don't know if Linda's talking to me or to someone, a ghost that she sees behind her computer. So I know there's resistance to change and to trying to move forward. We had very robust conversation. The policy committee, we can have robust conversation here as well. And I appreciate that Dina works really hard to help us express our voices. So thank you for that.
Thanks, Winston. Deborah?
I apologize. A little scratchy this morning. While I don't necessarily know that a clause saying the board members should be notified in the event of a public records request would technically fit into a tech policy, I do think that that is important verbiage because I would not want, if there was a public information request with my name on it, I would want to be assured to be notified that that's